Hello everyone, I'm Savita Hasamane here. I'm excited to share my entire Everest Base Camp Trek of 11 days. First things first, we hopped onto a plane from India to Nepal, landed in Kathmandu just as the sun was setting. Then we went straight to Thamel for some last minute shopping. Trust me, it is important to rest and relax before starting the trek for at least 1 to 2 nights in Kathmandu to start the journey with energy and enthusiasm. Day 1 started when we had to leave early morning to Lukla. Here is the roadmap. 8 days of ascent starting from Lukla to the Everest Base Camp and 3 days of descent from Gorakshep to Lukla. Starting from Kathmandu to Lukla, we did not have a direct flight to Lukla. We had to travel to Ramechapp airport, which is around 3 to 4 hours of journey from Kathmandu by road. We started very early at around 4 a.m. and reached Ramechapp airport by sunrise. Then we boarded the flight to Lukla. It takes around 20 to 25 minutes to reach Lukla. Adventure begins now. Adventure begins now at Lukla's Tenzing Hillary Airport. Gratitude to the pilots as we pick up the bags from Lukla Airport and move towards the tea house to have our breakfast before the trek. Here, we met the local guides and porters. Now the trek officially begins at the Fasang Lamu gate. With our permit stamped, we proceeded towards Phakding. This is not merely a walk, it's a pilgrimage through the heart of the Everest region. We encountered human porters along the Everest Base Camp Trek. It is a reminder of the challenging conditions in which the locals operate, and that demands huge respect. These human porters shoulder the responsibility of ferrying essential supplies, equipments, and even construction materials. These are the true unsung heroes. When I first encountered a hanging bridge, I had my own fears. I watched the bridge for a few seconds and then slowly stepped onto the bridge and crossed the bridge. After crossing, I was excited to see the prayer walls, flags, and wheels on the way to Phakding. Lunch was the traditional Nepali rice dal bath, which is similar to the South Indian meal, and it was very filling. Stayed overnight in Phakding. Hey guys, do subscribe to Dream 100 Business Show channel in case you have not yet subscribed. On day 2, we started from Phakding to Namche Bazaar after breakfast. After every 2 to 3 hours of walk, I would relax my legs for recovery for at least a few minutes. Locals are very friendly on the way and they greet with a namaste as soon as you see them. This lady was super cool and I had a good time posing with her basket. Gradually, I learned the right way to cross these hanging bridges by walking in the center of the bridge with stability and confidence. I overcame my fears now and I started enjoying crossing it. The steep, rocky path is filled with lot of greenery and enchanting mountains. This slowed down my speed. It was almost 3:30 p.m. and we had a still good hours to go before we reached Namche. I was asked to speed up as we had to get to Namche before dark and we didn't want to encounter the rains. We walked and walked on this never ending stretch. At last, we were half an hour away from Namche, where I got a chance for a restroom break. You can see the restrooms right behind this picture. At last, when we reached Namche, the photo session again started. I got complimented from Naresh and Lakpa saying that I walked well. I was thrilled to bits. Later, Naresh took us out in the dark, saying that we had to watch Namche light up, and we were treated in a bakery. Our stomachs were full, and it was very cold as we headed back to our rooms. Day 3 is Acclimatization Day in Namche. We went out after breakfast for a round trip to Tengboche airport. I was feeling very reluctant to hike as it was a rest day. However, I met a lot of trekkers who inspired me to walk and told me to take it easy. Here I learned how to focus just on the next step. On reaching the top, I went to a deep sleep when I lay down to rest for a few minutes. Naresh was having fun checking if I was awake, and he clicked this fun pic. I shared it back home with everyone, and my dad freaked out, thinking that it was a bad decision and I could not make it to the base camp. In reality, I had bounced back with enthusiasm after the short nap and I was ready to go now. Day 4 started from Namche Bazaar to Tengboche. As we were walking in the villages, I saw a lot of people on horsebacks who had fallen sick and were returning without completing the trek. It was a bit disappointing. As I was walking slowly, Lakpa came up to me and offered a free ride on his friend's horseback. I refused outwardly, but inwardly I started getting self doubts. I shared my doubts with Naresh, and he immediately said in a very strict tone that everyone will only walk, no more offers of horseback. After some time, I met a Buddhist monk who offered me biscuits, and he inspired me with his wise words and he walked off. I gained more confidence now. Slowly, I could feel myself filling with lot of energy from the mountains, trees, and rivers. Mountains start their silent whispers. It was fascinating. At last, we reached Tengboche and retired for the day. Day 5 started with us visiting the monastery. I felt the meditative vibes and experienced the silence of mountains and the monastery. This trail is divine and refreshing. The entire path is laced with trees, greenery, and beautiful scenery all along the way. We spotted the first sight of Amadhabalam, the mother's necklace of the Himalayan mountains. What a joy to watch the silvery peaks. From there, the path gets rocky, windy, and sunny. Here I realized that I needed true trekking poles and not one. Lakpa took my trekking bag from here and he was shadowing me to ensure that I am on the right track. He was my constant support and guide. As we progressed further, I noticed that the landscape was less green here and the air started getting much thinner. It was quite cold by the time we reached Dingboche and we experienced snow for the first time and retired for the night. On day 6, we stayed in Dingboche for acclimatization. We went on a short hike and returned. The most important thing I learned that day was about the difference in climbing up and coming down. It took me an hour to climb up a certain distance, but only half an hour to come down the same way. Our guide, Rajkumar, explained that since we were climbing uphill for about 10 kilometers every day for 8 to 9 hours, we can easily cover 20 kilometers in the same time. Experiencing this for the first time, it boosted my confidence for the journey back, for which there was a lot of doubts running in my mind. I enjoyed meeting other trekkers and listening to their stories about reaching the base camp. I share my meditative moments here. On day 7, we trekked further. The land became increasingly barren and dry, with lots of dust around. To cope, we had to keep our mouths closed while walking, just as the locals did. The terrain turned rockier, and despite the blazing sun, the air remained bitterly cold. Despite the harsh conditions, we pressed on until we reached Lukla, where we paid our respects to the brave Sherpas who had sacrificed their lives in creating this path. As we continued, we caught sight of Lobuche in the distance. It became more clearer to us as we approached. Exhausted, we settled in for the night. Despite the spread of delicious food on the table, we hardly felt like eating. Only a few spoonfuls of soup was all that I could manage before retiring for the day. Day 8. We set out from Lobuche towards Gorakshep with the sun shining brightly overhead and the path coated in dust. Determined to reach Gorakshep by lunchtime, we pressed on. When I caught sight of the signboard reading Welcome to Gorakshep, I couldn't contain my joy. It was the most welcoming sight. I stood in front of the Way to the Everest signboard for a moment with lot of gratitude. The tea house was bustling with activity as trekkers arrived from all directions. After lunch, I found myself dozing off only to be awakened for the journey to Everest. Our guides were full of energy and enthusiasm. I started off with Rajkumar, thinking that it is only a short stretch to the base camp. I was wrong. It gets tougher and tougher. I was hoping that we will reach soon. I kept on walking, feeling the silent hum in the air. I witnessed the guides praying silently and thanking the mountains, expressing their gratitude. What a beautiful sight! I was determined to go till the base camp monument. I had a flowing nose by then. I felt like as though I was in the fridge. My mouth was always open to gulp in the air. Step by step, little by little, I reached there at last. My happiness knew no bounds. I was overjoyed. Then started the mad scramble to climb up the rock and click our pics and selfies. Guide Rajkumar clicked his selfie in this excitement. I was disappointed looking at the pics. Naresh said, Go climb the rock again and take all the selfies you desire. I did it and I did not feel like coming down. It started drizzling slightly.
Mojitan itu tanto tuh ya. Lo zorro lah.
Then we walked back towards Gorakshep. The mighty Everest looked as beautiful and pure as ever. Finally, I reached the tea house and I felt that I was down with fever. I popped a dolo and went to sleep. This was the first tablet which I had popped into my mouth. On day 9, I got up and felt the rush of energy, dressed and started off with the walk way back home. It was a tiring journey, and I kept on walking. We moved and moved and moved. By lunchtime, we started experiencing a bit of snow. We all were thrilled, had lunch, and then we started off. Then we encountered continuous snowing. First time I was experiencing snowing and trekking. It felt like heaven, and I felt blessed. After some heavy snowing, I realized that snow trek has its own challenges. Kept on walking till we reached Pheriche. The tea house was warm, and we were greeted with smiling faces and hot lemon ginger tea. From here, we were able to send pics as the signal was good. And I was able to talk to my folks back home. Went and rested in the warm beds, hot water we could get only for drinking. In the restrooms and the wash basins, we have to use only cold water. Day 10 is a long, long day trek from Pheriche to Namche. Loved the hospitality and shared stories with Tampa in Pheriche before we departed. This place is heaven on earth. Learned a lot and carried on with my journey to Namche. It was bright and sunny. The snow started melting and the path became very slippery. With no snowshoes on, I had to manage with the trek shoes only. The snow covered trails were such a joy to watch with new white coats everywhere. As I started crossing few villages, I could see the snow on Christmas trees and they were slowly melting. I was able to feel the drops of water on my face and head. It was a lovely feeling. Feeling joyful, contented, and happy, the journey back was very high in spirits. Crossed villages and distance and started feeling hungry for lunch. One cannot afford to take breaks every now and then, especially with a pace like mine. When I reached this place, I went down on my knees, filled with immense gratitude for the entire experience, then got up and walked to the tea house for lunch. Walk, 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 walk in sight. Walk, 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 keep walking, and wishing for the sight of the tea house for lunch. After lunch, it was a never ending walk. The only question on my mind was where is Namche Bazaar? For how long it should we walk? It was a wild guess. At last, by the time when Namche Bazaar was in sight, the whole village was lit up, and I used headlamps as it was pitch dark by the time we reached our tea house. Day 11 was the last day of the trek. We were supposed to trek from Namche to Lukla. I started early in the morning, a bit early than the rest. With great joy and gratitude in my heart, I started off thanking every peak, every tree, and every step. Enjoyed the tea break with the team, had fun with the pet callers, and we all headed out to lunch to Phakding. Had lunch at Phakding and then started off to Lukla. The weather became cloudy and it started drizzling. I did not want to get drenched, however, kept walking and walking without stopping at any cafe. At last, I reached Lukla and then it started raining heavily. We all had to wait for dinner for a long time as the tea house was crowded. but nevertheless had a great time with the team and the porters and guides, had dinner, and slept very well. The next day, we headed out to Lukla airport after breakfast, and we got to know that we had to wait for our flights because of the bad weather. We then took out a chance and stepped out on the roads of Lukla, found a shop where the lady had Indian snacks, pani puri, and Indian sweets. That was when I realized I had not eaten anything spicy or sweet in the past 11 days. I devoured the snacks. Then got a call for our flights to Ramechapp. We boarded the flights after bidding goodbye to our guides with a heavy heart. We slept almost the entire journey from Ramechapp to Kathmandu. Reached Kathmandu, had the best bath with hot water after 11 long days, and then went on a shopping spree to buy souvenirs to people back home. Boarded the flight to Bangalore and had an introspective journey about the three learnings and implementation. My first learning was pushing the limits, mainly my doubts, my fears, and my limitations. My second greatest learning was adapt during challenging and changing conditions without being arrogant. The third, be in the present moment, focus only on the next step, which is deeply spiritual and connecting. Thank you so much for watching. Do subscribe to Dream 100 Business Show for more experiential videos. This is Savita Hosamane signing off, and thank you so much.